The stars looked different today. Jia pressed her face against the thick glass of the observation deck on the Korean International Space Station. Something was wrong with the light from the distant sun they were studying. It flickered in a way stars should not. "You've been staring out that window for 3 hours," Sung said as he floated into the room. He handed her a pouch of coffee. "Find anything interesting?" Jia took the pouch without looking away from the window. "That star is dying wrong." Sung moved beside her, his shoulder almost touching hers. "Stars die all the time." "Not like this." Jia pointed to her tablet. Numbers and graphs filled the screen. "Look at these readings. The space around it is tearing." Sung studied her data. He wasn't a quantum physicist like Jia, but he understood enough to know that what he was seeing wasn't normal. Could it be an instrument error? "I checked 3 times with different systems." Jia pushed away from the window and used the handrails to pull herself to her workstation. "Space itself is breaking apart out there." Sung. "Like fabric tearing at the seams." Sung followed her. "If you're right, this could be dangerous." "Not could be. Is." Jia pulled up more data on her main screen. "I need to send this to Earth right away." 3 days later, Jia sat in the station's communication room, her face tight with anger. "They think I'm wrong," she told Sung as he entered. "The Korean Space Agency says my data is interesting but not concerning. They want more proof before they alarm the international community." Sung sat in the chair next to her. "What can I do to help?" "Help me set up more sensors. If I can track this tear over time, maybe they'll believe me." For the next 2 weeks, Jia barely slept. She monitored her instruments constantly. The tear was growing, though slowly. Sung brought her food and made her rest when she swayed with exhaustion. "You won't help anyone if you collapse," he said firmly one night, taking her tablet from her hands. "Sleep for 4 hours. I'll watch the readings." Jia wanted to argue but was too tired. "Wake me if anything changes." She was asleep in minutes. Sung kept his promise. For 4 hours, he watched the numbers and patterns that Jia had taught him to understand. Nothing changed until the very end of his watch. The alarm woke Jia instantly. She pushed herself out of her sleeping pod and was at the workstation in seconds. "What is it?" Sung pointed at the screen with a shaking hand. "It happened, just like you said it would." The tear had grown suddenly and violently. The star they had been watching was gone. So was its entire solar system. "We need to call Earth. Now." Jia's voice was steady despite her fear. The emergency meeting with the Korean Space Agency and international scientists lasted hours. Jia showed them everything: her initial readings, the growth pattern of the tear, and the final devastating expansion that had destroyed an entire star system. This time, they believed her. "Dr. Jia," the agency director said, his face grave on the video screen, "we're detecting similar anomalies in 3 other sectors of space. We need your expertise. You and Dr. Sung will lead our response team." After the call ended, Jia stood frozen by the communication panel. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her like gravity turned too high. Sung placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Hey, you were right all along. You saw what no one else could see." "Being right doesn't help if I can't fix it," Jia said quietly. "What if these tears keep spreading? What if they reach Earth? Then we'll find a way to stop them." Sung's voice held absolute confidence. "You're the smartest person I've ever known, Jia. If anyone can figure this out, it's you." Jia looked at him, drawing strength from his faith in her. "We'll need help. These tears, these fractures in space, they are beyond anything humans have faced before. Then we'll find help," Sung said simply. "Whatever it takes." Jia nodded and turned back to her workstation. There was no time to waste. Somewhere out there, the universe was breaking apart, and somehow, she had to find a way to hold it together. The stars looked different today. Jia pressed her face against the thick glass of the observation deck on the Korean International Space Station. Something was wrong with the light from the distant sun they were studying. It flickered in a way stars should not. "You've been staring out that window for 3 hours," Sung said as he floated into the room. He handed her a pouch of coffee. "Find anything interesting?" Jia took the pouch without looking away from the window. "That star is dying wrong." Sung moved beside her, his shoulder almost touching hers. "Stars die all the time." "Not like this." Jia pointed to her tablet. Numbers and graphs filled the screen. "Look at these readings. The space around it is tearing." Sung studied her data. He wasn't a quantum physicist like Jia, but he understood enough to know that what he was seeing wasn't normal. Could it be an instrument error? "I checked 3 times with different systems." Jia pushed away from the window and used the handrails to pull herself to her workstation. "Space itself is breaking apart out there." Sung, like fabric tearing at the seams. Sung followed her. "If you're right, this could be dangerous." "Not could be. Is." Jia pulled up more data on her main screen. "I need to send this to Earth right away." 3 days later, Jia sat in the station's communication room, her face tight with anger. "They think I'm wrong," she told Sung as he entered. "The Korean Space Agency says my data is interesting but not concerning. They want more proof before they alarm the international community." Sung sat in the chair next to her. "What can I do to help?" "Help me set up more sensors. If I can track this tear over time, maybe they'll believe me." For the next 2 weeks, Jia barely slept. She monitored her instruments constantly. The tear was growing, though slowly. Sung brought her food and made her rest when she swayed with exhaustion. "You won't help anyone if you collapse," he said firmly one night, taking her tablet from her hands. "Sleep for 4 hours. I'll watch the readings." Jia wanted to argue but was too tired. "Wake me if anything changes." She was asleep in minutes. Sung kept his promise. For 4 hours, he watched the numbers and patterns that Jia had taught him to understand. Nothing changed until the very end of his watch. The alarm woke Jia instantly. She pushed herself out of her sleeping pod and was at the workstation in seconds. "What is it?" Sung pointed at the screen with a shaking hand. "It happened, just like you said it would." The tear had grown suddenly and violently. The star they had been watching was gone. So was its entire solar system. "We need to call Earth. Now." Jia's voice was steady despite her fear. The emergency meeting with the Korean Space Agency and international scientists lasted hours. Jia showed them everything: her initial readings, the growth pattern of the tear, and the final devastating expansion that had destroyed an entire star system. This time, they believed her. "Dr. Jia," the agency director said, his face grave on the video screen, "we're detecting similar anomalies in 3 other sectors of space. We need your expertise. You and Dr. Sung will lead our response team." After the call ended, Jia stood frozen by the communication panel. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her like gravity turned too high. Sung placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Hey, you were right all along. You saw what no one else could see." "Being right doesn't help if I can't fix it," Jia said quietly. "What if these tears keep spreading? What if they reach Earth? Then we'll find a way to stop them." Sung's voice held absolute confidence. "You're the smartest person I've ever known, Jia. If anyone can figure this out, it's you." Jia looked at him, drawing strength from his faith in her. "We'll need help. These tears, these fractures in space, they are beyond anything humans have faced before." "Then we'll find help," Sung said simply. "Whatever it takes." Jia nodded and turned back to her workstation. There was no time to waste. Somewhere out there, the universe was breaking apart, and somehow, she had to find a way to hold it together. The ship called Hansung hummed quietly as it moved through space. It was the fastest vessel humans had ever built, now improved with no Terran technology. Jia stood on the bridge, watching the stars streak by through the large viewing window. "We will reach the fracture in 6 hours, Dai said, moving to stand beside her. His silver-blue skin seemed to glow under the ship's lights. Jia nodded. The sensors are ready. We'll collect more data than anyone has ever gathered on a fracture. Your shield design is impressive, Daz said. Our scientists never thought to use quantum resonance to protect against fracture energy. Sometimes fresh eyes see new solutions, Jia replied. Day tilted his head. Is that a human saying? No, Jia smiled slightly. Just something my mother used to tell me. Sung entered the bridge, carrying 3 cups of steaming liquid. Thought you both could use some coffee. Day accepted the cup with a nod. Your stimulant beverages are quite pleasant. When Sung handed Jia her cup, his fingers brushed against hers. She felt warmth that had nothing to do with the hot drink. How are the engines holding up? She asked him. Running better than expected, Sung replied. The no-Terran modifications doubled our speed and cut energy use in half. Your technology is impressive too, Daz said. Simple, but effective. Sung's smile didn't reach his eyes. We make do with what we have. 6 hours later, the Hansong slowed as it approached the fracture. From a distance, it looked like a crack in glass, a jagged line of darkness against the stars. Shields at maximum, Sung reported from his station. Jia's hands moved quickly over her control panel. Beginning scans. The fracture is stable, but still growing. About 3 meters per Earth day. That's faster than our models predicted, Dai said, concern in his voice. The rate of expansion is increasing across all known fractures. Jia focused on the incoming data. There's something strange here. The energy signature isn't random. It has a pulse, like a heartbeat. Day moved quickly to look at her screen. You're right. That's new. Or it was always there, and we couldn't detect it before, Jia said. Sung, can we move closer? I need better readings. Are you sure that's safe? Sung asked. Your shields will hold, Dag assured him. We need this data. The ship edged closer to the fracture. The crack in space grew larger on their viewing screen, no longer a line but a gaping wound in reality. Look at this, Jia said suddenly. There's a pattern in the pulse. It's almost like a signal, Dai finished, his black eyes wide. It's a transmission. From who? To who? Sung asked. I don't know, Jia said, typing rapidly. But it's definitely artificial. Dai, you were right. These fractures aren't natural. They're being made by something. A sudden alarm blared through the ship. Sung jumped to his feet. Energy spike. The fracture is expanding. That's not possible, Dai said. This fracture was stable. The ship shuddered as the first wave of energy hit them. Jia held onto her station as the lights flickered. Shields at 60%. Sung called out. We need to back away. Now. Wait, Jia said. I'm getting something. The clear signal. If I can just. Another wave hit the ship, stronger than the first. A panel near Jia exploded in sparks. She fell backward as the ship lurched. Jia, Sung shouted. The next few moments happened in slow motion. Jia saw a piece of the ceiling break loose, falling toward her. She couldn't move fast enough. Then Sung was there, pushing her away. The metal struck him instead, knocking him to the floor. Sung, Jia crawled to him as the ship continued to shake. Blood ran from a cut on his forehead, but his eyes were open. Are you okay? He asked her, his voice weak. You idiot, she whispered, touching his face. Why did you do that? His answer was simple. Because it's you. Day's voice cut through the moment. We must leave now. The fracture is growing too fast. As Jia helped Sung to his feet, she looked one last time at the fracture on the screen. In the data still flowing to her tablet, she saw something incredible, proof that the fractures were created by an ancient civilization, long gone, and more importantly, a clue to where they might find answers. Take us out of here, she told Da. I know where we need to go next. Are you sure about these coordinates? Dai asked as the Hansong traveled through an empty part of space. There were no planets here, no stars nearby. Yes, Jia said firmly. She sat beside Sung in the ship's medical bay, watching as a medical robot sealed the cut on his forehead. The signal pattern from the fracture pointed here. Sung winced as the robot finished its work. What do you expect to find in the middle of nowhere? Something hidden, Jia replied. She showed them her tablet. Look at this data again. The fracture was sending a signal to this exact spot. Why send a signal to empty space? Da's black eyes narrowed. Unless it's not empty. 3 hours later, they found it. The ship's sensors detected a faint energy field. As they got closer, a massive structure appeared before them, seeming to fade in and out of reality. It's incredible, Jia whispered. The structure was like no space station they had ever seen. It was shaped like a wheel with 12 spokes, each as big as a city. The entire thing shimmered, parts of it sometimes vanishing before reappearing. It exists partially outside normal space, Daz said, his voice filled with awe. That's why we couldn't detect it before. How is that possible? Sung asked. The same technology that creates the fractures, Jia guessed. This station must have been built by the same civilization. They docked at what appeared to be an entry port. The air inside was breathable, and gravity worked normally, though it felt somehow lighter. Welcome to the Nexus, Dai read from strange markings on the wall. My people have legends of places between spaces. I never thought they were real. They walked through empty corridors that sometimes shifted around them. Walls would become transparent, showing stars that couldn't possibly be there. Floors would ripple like water before becoming solid again. This place doesn't follow normal physics, Jia said, touching a wall that felt both solid and not. They found the central chamber after hours of searching. It was a vast room with a glowing pillar in the center. Around it were what looked like control panels and viewing screens. It's a control room, Sung said. Jia approached one of the panels. Strange symbols lit up at her touch. I think these are records. Images appeared in the air before them. They showed beings unlike any they had seen before, tall, with 4 arms and crystal-like skin. The beings worked with machines that created small tears in space. They were making passages, Jia realized, watching the images. Doorways between parallel universes. Why? Sung asked. More images answered his question. They showed universes dying, civilizations fleeing through the fractures to new realities. They were escaping the death of their universe, Dai said quietly, using the fractures as escape routes. But something went wrong, Jia said as the final images played. The fractures grew out of control. Worlds were swallowed. The crystal beings tried to stop it, but failed. They built this station as a last hope, Jia translated from the symbols. The nexus exists between universes. From here, they tried to repair the damage they caused. Did they succeed? Sung asked. Jia shook her head. The records end here. I think they're gone. For the next 3 days, Jia barely ate or slept. She studied the alien technology, trying to understand how it worked. The mathematics behind it was unlike anything humans had developed. Sung brought her food and made her rest when she swayed with exhaustion. You can't save the universe if you die of hunger, he said gently. Jia looked up at him with tired eyes. I'm almost there, Sung. The answer is here. I can feel it. I know you'll find it, he said, but rest first. Just for an hour. She finally nodded. As she leaned against his shoulder, he asked, what happens if you can't figure it out? That's not an option, she said simply. Too many people would die. You would die. His arm tightened around her. I'm not important. You are to me, Jia whispered before falling asleep. Sung held her as she slept, watching over her in the strange light of the alien station. Outside, the universe continued to tear itself apart. But here, for a moment, they had found sanctuary. What they didn't notice was Da, watching them from the doorway, a troubled look on his face. He touched a small device on his wrist and whispered words in his own language before turning away. On the seventh day at the Nexus, Jia made a breakthrough. She stood in the central chamber, her eyes bright with excitement despite her exhaustion. "I understand it now," she told Sung. The fracture technology was meant to create stable doorways between universes, but the builders made a mistake in their calculations. The doorways became unstable. They began to grow and tear reality apart. Some looked at the complex equations floating in the air around them. "Can you fix it?" "I think so," Jia said. "We can use the Nexus to send a signal to all the fractures. It would create a kind of counter-resonance that could close them." Dae had been quiet for days, often disappearing to explore other parts of the station. Now he returned, and something in his manner had changed. "You've solved it," he said. "It wasn't a question." Jia nodded. "Yes, we need to prepare the Nexus systems to broadcast the counter-resonance. We can save both our worlds, Dae." A strange expression crossed Dae's face. "There is something you should know," he said slowly. "My people, we are not united in our goals." "What do you mean?" Sung asked, moving closer to Jia. "Some of my kind believe the fractures are not a disaster, but an opportunity." Dae looked away. "They want to use the technology to open passages to other Earths, to take those worlds for our own." Jia's face paled. "You want to invade parallel Earths." "Not me," Dae said quickly, "but others, my superior. His name is Jin. He leads our science division. He has been searching for the Nexus for years. And now we've led him right to it," Sung said, his voice hard. Dae touched his wrist device. "I've been reporting to him. I had no choice. But," he hesitated, "I've seen how you humans care for each other. How you—" He looked at Sung. "Protect her, not for gain or power, but because you value her life above your own. My people once had that. We've lost it." "What are you saying?" Jia asked. "Jin is coming," Dae said. "He will be here within hours with armed forces. He plans to take control of the Nexus and use it to open fractures to other Earths. You must leave now." "We can't leave," Jia said. "This is the only place where we can create the counter-resonance to stop the fractures." "Then we must work quickly," Dae decided. "I will help you." For the next 2 hours, they worked frantically to prepare the signal. Dae's knowledge of the alien systems proved invaluable. Jia programmed the counter-resonance while Sung prepared the ship for a fast departure. They were almost finished when alarms blared throughout the station. "They're here," Dae said, his voice tight with fear. Too soon. A voice came over the station's communication system, speaking in the No-Terran language. Dae's face grew grim as he listened. "Jin demands that I bring you to him," he told them. "He knows what we're doing." "Can we finish the signal?" Jia asked. "Not in time," Dae replied. "But I can get you both to your ship with the data. You can finish the work on Earth." "What about you?" Sung asked. "I will face Jin. Buy you time." Dae's black eyes seemed sad. "It is the right thing to do." They ran through the shifting corridors of the Nexus, hearing sounds of pursuit behind them. When they reached a junction, Dae stopped. "Go left. It leads to your ship. I will go right and draw them away." "Come with us," Jia urged. "I cannot," Dae said. "This is my fight now too." Suddenly, armed No-Terrans appeared at the end of the corridor. They fired strange weapons that distorted the air itself. Dae pushed Jia and Sung toward the left passage. "Go," he shouted, turning to face his people. Jia and Sung ran. Behind them, they heard energy weapons firing, then a scream of pain. When they reached the hansom, Sung started the engines immediately. As they pulled away from the Nexus, Jia watched on the screens as No-Terran ships surrounded the station. "He saved us," she whispered. "He chose to be better than his people," Sung said quietly. "Like you always believed he could." As the hansom accelerated away from the Nexus, Jia clutched the data tablet containing their only hope of saving the universe. She thought of Dad's last words to them, spoken just before they parted. Humans love beyond reason. That is your strength. Don't lose it. The journey back to Earth took 12 days. Ja spent every hour working on the data from the Nexus, refining the counter-resonance formula. Some kept the ship running, making repairs where needed after their hasty escape. On the 10th day, they lost contact with Earth. Something's blocking all signals, Sung said, trying again to reach the Korean Space Agency. I can't get through to anyone. Jia looked up from her work, her face tight with worry. Could it be the No-Terrans? Or something worse, Sung said quietly. 2 days later, they got their answer. As the Hansong approached Earth's solar system, they saw it. A massive fracture had opened near Mars, its jagged darkness cutting across space like a wound. No, Ja whispered, her hands pressed against the viewing window. We're too late. Sung stood beside her, his shoulder touching hers. Not yet. Look, Earth is still safe. It was true. The fracture hadn't reached Earth, though it was growing slowly in that direction. But Mars was gone, swallowed by the tear in reality. Getting past the fracture was dangerous. Sung piloted the ship carefully, using Jia's calculations to find a safe path. When they finally reached Earth, they found a world transformed by fear. The Korean Space Agency headquarters had been moved underground. Armed guards met them when they landed, escorting them to a large bunker beneath Seoul. The United Earth Defense, Sung read from signs on the walls. All the space agencies joined together. Necessity forced cooperation, explained the officer leading them. When the Mars fracture appeared 3 days ago, the world's governments finally understood the threat. In the main control room, screens showed fractures appearing across the solar system. Military leaders from different countries argued loudly about what to do. Some want to try weapons against the fractures, the officer told them. Others want to build evacuation ships, though no one knows where we could go that would be safe. The agency director rushed forward when he saw Jia and Sung. You're alive. We thought we lost you when the No-Terran ships disappeared. What happened to the No-Terrans? Jia asked. Their ships vanished near the location you were exploring. We assumed the worst. The director looked at them with hope. Did you find anything? Yes, Jia said firmly. We know what causes the fractures and how to stop them. The room fell silent at her words. Hours later, after explaining everything they had learned, Jia stood before the United Earth Defense Council. Sung was at her side, as always. The technology at the Nexus can create a counter-resonance signal, she explained. It would close all fractures and prevent new ones from forming. And you have this technology? The military general asked. I have the formula, Jia replied. We can build a device based on it. How long would that take? The director asked. A week, maybe 2, Jia said. But we must hurry. The Mars fracture is growing faster than any we've seen before. The general leaned forward. This device, could it be modified to create controlled fractures? Ones we could use. Jia frowned. Theoretically, yes. But that's what caused this problem in the first place. Think of the military applications, the general pressed. We could open passages to other worlds, access unlimited resources, even use them as weapons against enemies. That's exactly what Jin wants to do, Sung said angrily. Did you not hear what happened to the No-Terrans' homeworld? Or to Mars? The room erupted in argument. Some leaders supported the general, seeing opportunity in the crisis. Others backed Jia, understanding the danger. Amid the chaos, Sung took Jia's hand. She looked at him gratefully as he spoke, his voice cutting through the noise. Dr. Jia is the only person who fully understands this technology, he said, his calm tone demanding attention. She's the one who saw the fractures when no one else could. And she's telling you that using this technology as a weapon would destroy us all. The room grew quiet again. We came here to save Earth, Jia said simply, not to give you a new way to destroy it. The director finally nodded. Dr. Jia will lead the project to build the counter-resonance device. All resources will be at her disposal. As they left the meeting, Jia whispered to Sung, "Thank you for standing with me." "Always," he replied, squeezing her hand. Until the end. 5 days later, the counter-resonance device was almost complete. Jia worked without rest, her mind focused only on the task. Scientists from around the world helped, but only Jia truly understood the alien mathematics behind it. The device looked simple, a silver sphere the size of a basketball, covered in strange symbols and glowing lines. But inside, it contained technology beyond human understanding. "Will it work?" the director asked during the final inspection. "Yes," Jia said confidently. "When activated at the heart of the Mars fracture, it will send a signal that will close all fractures across the universe." "At the heart of the fracture," the director repeated. "You mean someone has to take it there?" Jia nodded. "The signal needs to originate from inside the fracture to be strong enough." "But that's suicide," the director said, his face pale. "Nothing survives inside a fracture." "I know," Jia said quietly. "I'll go." Sung, who had been checking the device's power systems, looked up sharply. "No, absolutely not." "There's no other way," Jia insisted. "No one else understands how to activate it properly." "Then teach me," Sung said, standing up. "I'll go." "That's not." "We'll discuss this later," the director interrupted. "For now, prepare the device for transport. We launch in 12 hours. That night, in the small room they shared at the facility, Jia and Sung argued in hushed voices. "You can't go," Sung said firmly. "You're too important." "Important how?" Jia asked. "The device is built. Anyone can press a button." "That's not what I mean, and you know it." Sung paced the small space. "You're the smartest person on this planet. Humanity needs your brain, your ideas." "And what about you?" Jia challenged. "Aren't you important too?" Sung stopped pacing and looked at her. In the dim light, his face was serious but calm. "Not like you. I'm just an engineer. You're the one who saw the fractures first. You're the one who understood the alien technology. You can save more lives in the future than I ever could." "Sung, let me do this," he said softly. "Please." Jia felt tears in her eyes. "I can't lose you." Sung moved closer and took her hands in his. "You've been carrying the weight of the world since this began. Let me carry it for you, just this once." "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you do this?" His answer was simple. "Because I love you. I think I have since the first day you showed me those star readings and told me space was tearing apart." Jia couldn't speak. She just pulled him close and held him, her tears falling onto his shoulder. Later, as they sat together on the small bed, she finally found her voice. "I love you too," she said. "That's why I can't let you go." "You have to," he said gently, "because you know I'm right." They stayed awake all night, talking about everything and nothing. Jia told him about her childhood dreams of studying the stars. Sung spoke of his family's small farm by the sea. They shared memories and laughs and tears, filling the hours with a lifetime of conversations. As morning approached, Jia finally agreed to Sung's plan. She showed him exactly how to operate the device, explaining each step carefully. "The timing is crucial," she said. "Wait until you're at the center of the fracture, then press these 3 symbols in sequence." Sung nodded, memorizing every detail. When she finished, he looked at her with a smile. "See, not so complicated." "Promise me you'll be careful," she said, knowing it was a foolish request for a mission like this. "I promise to do everything possible to come back to you," he answered honestly. When dawn came, they'd walked to the launch bay hand in hand. The small ship that would carry Sung to the fracture waited, its engines already warming. The director met them there. "Is everything ready?" "Yes," Jia said, her voice steady despite her breaking heart. "Sung will pilot the mission. He knows what to do." Later, as the ship prepared for launch, Sung held Jia one last time. "Keep watching the stars," he whispered, "even when they seem broken." "I will," she promised. As the ship lifted off, Jia watched until it was just a speck in the sky. Only then did she allow herself to cry. What she didn't know was that in the early morning hours, while she had finally fallen asleep, Sung had modified the device slightly. A small addition that might, just might, give him a chance to survive. Jia sat alone in the control room, watching the small dot on the screen that represented Sung's ship. For 6 hours, she hadn't moved from her chair. Engineers and scientists worked around her, but no one disturbed her silent vigil. "He's approaching the fracture now," the flight director announced. On the main screen, they could see the massive tear in space near where Mars had once been. It looked larger than before, its edges jagged and pulsing with strange energy. Sung's voice came through the speakers, calm despite the static. "I can see it clearly now. It's beautiful in a terrible way." "Stay focused," Jia said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Remember the approach path we calculated." "Already on it," Sung replied. "The ship's shields are holding, but I can feel the pull getting stronger." The next hour was the longest of Jia's life. She guided Sung as his ship carefully navigated closer to the fracture. The closer he got, the worse the communication became. "I'm at the edge now," his voice crackled through the speakers, about to enter. "Wait," Jia said suddenly. She had noticed something in his earlier transmission data. "Sung, did you modify the device?" There was a long pause before he answered. "Just a small addition. Something I thought of last night." "What did you do?" she asked, a mix of hope and fear in her voice. "I added a quantum field generator," he explained. "It might create a bubble of protected space around me when the device activates. It might not work, but it might give you a chance," Jia finished. Her mind raced through the calculations. "Sung, that's brilliant." "I had a good teacher," he said, and she could hear the smile in his voice. "Listen to me," Jia said urgently. "When you activate the device, power the field generator first, then wait exactly 3 seconds before the final sequence." 3 seconds, he repeated. "Got it." "And Sung," she added, her voice softer, "come back to me." "I promise," he replied before the communication cut off as his ship entered the fracture. For 20 minutes, there was nothing but static. Jia stared at the screen, watching the small dot that was Sung's ship move deeper into the fracture. Then finally, it stopped moving. "He's reached the center," the flight director said. Jia's hands gripped the edge of her console. "Now we wait." 5 minutes later, it happened. The fracture began to change. Its edges stopped pulsing and started to shrink. Slowly at first, then faster. "It's working," someone shouted. Reports began coming in from observatories around the world. All the fractures they could detect were closing. The universe was healing itself. But there was no word from Sung. Days turned into weeks. Earth celebrated its salvation. The remaining no-Terran ships left human space, their plans for conquest abandoned without the fracture technology. The world began to rebuild. Jia returned to her old laboratory at the Korean space station. She couldn't stay on Earth, not with all the celebrations and ceremonies. Here, among the stars, she felt closer to Sung. 3 months after the fractures closed, Jia was working late in her lab. She had been developing new sensor arrays, hoping to detect any trace of Sung or his ship. So far, she had found nothing. She was about to give up for the night when her instruments registered a strange energy spike. It was small, almost undetectable, but its pattern was familiar. It was the signature of a fracture forming. Heart pounding, Jia tracked the readings. A tiny fracture had appeared right outside the station, barely the size of a doorway. It wasn't growing or causing damage. It was stable, controlled. Alarms sounded throughout the station as the sensors detected the anomaly. Security teams rushed toward her lab. Jia ignored them all, her eyes fixed on the small tear in reality that had formed in the middle of her laboratory. It shimmered like water, And then, a figure stepped through. It was Sung, changed, his hair now streaked with silver, his eyes holding the knowledge of things no human had ever seen before. But it was him. "You came back," Jia whispered, unable to move. Sung smiled, the same smile she had fallen in love with. "I promised I would." As security burst into the room, Jia finally ran to him. Sung caught her in his arms and held her tight. "How?" she asked against his shoulder. "How did you survive?" "Your quantum bubble worked," he said. "It protected me, but it sent me elsewhere. Another Earth, in another universe. Time moves differently there. I've been searching for a way back for years." Jia pulled back to look at him. "Years? Worth every second," he said softly, touching her face. "I found my way across universes to get back to you." Around them, people shouted questions and demanded explanations. But in that moment, there was only the two of them. Proof that even when the universe shattered, love could find a way to mend it.